One night, a bunch of friends are in this SUV driving around, and they're driving to a friend's party. And they're in the middle of nowhere in New York State, and it's pitch dark, and there's no cell service, and they got another car and a motorcycle all following them to this party. But as they're driving, the roads keep getting sketchier and sketchier, and they eventually turn into dirt roads. And suddenly, it dawns on them. They're lost. But then, in the distance, they see something. A house. And they're like, oh, maybe that's our friend's house. That's where the party is. So they pull into the driveway. But this driveway, it's really long. It's like a long dirt road. And the closer they get to this house, they soon realize, oh, this isn't it. We're at the wrong place. And so they immediately turn around and they start driving away. And that is when suddenly, blam, they hear a gunshot and a bullet whizzes by. And one friend yells, someone's shooting at us! And oh my God, they all panic and skirt, the driver floors it. And then blam, a second gunshot and a bullet flies through the back windshield. What the hell? Who's shooting at them? And so the driver speeds away and he turns to his friends and he asks, is everyone okay? And everyone says yes, they're okay. Everyone except for the girl in the passenger seat. Now, her name is Kaylin, and Kaylin is 20 years old, and she doesn't answer. And so the driver asks again, Kaylin, are you okay? Kaylin? But Kaylin still doesn't answer, because one of the bullets had hit her in the neck. And so, who the hell just shot Kaylin? Well, to get to that answer, we need to talk about this guy, Kevin. And Kevin, he's 65 years old, and he's kind of a grumpy old turd. All of his neighbors know him as just an angry dude. Like, he drives all aggressively, and he even barks at other people's dogs when he gets mad, like, roo, roo, roo. Like, he's just that kind of guy. But one night, it's a normal night, and Kevin is asleep in his bed next to his wife. When suddenly, vroom, a loud noise wakes him up. What the hell was that? It sounds like a motorcycle. And so he jumps out of bed to investigate. Here's the thing about Kevin, though. Kevin doesn't like being woken up. In fact, Kevin hates a lot of things. But this really startles him, and it makes him mad. And he can hear something loud is going on outside. Someone must be out there. And so Kevin, he keeps a pew-pew by his bed that he uses to shoot squirrels and other animals that get on his nerves. And so he goes and he grabs it and he heads to his front door. And once he gets to his porch, he sees a bunch of people he doesn't know in his driveway driving away. A car, an SUV, and a motorcycle. Now, here's the other thing about Kevin. He really hates people on his property. He's very protective of his land. So instinctively, he points his pew-pew at the vehicles and he pulls the trigger. Blam! And then a bullet whizzes through the air. And then he pulls it again. Blam! And that second bullet flies through the back windshield into the SUV and it hits Kaylin in the neck. And that is when the driver, who's also Kaylin's boyfriend, asks, is everyone okay? And Kaylin doesn't answer. And they know something's wrong, and they're like, oh my God, she's been shot! And so, skirt, they speed away as fast as they can. And they try to call 911. However, remember, they're in the middle of nowhere, so they can't get any cell service. And so they keep driving, and they drive about 5 miles before they finally get a signal, and they can finally call 911. But unfortunately, by that time, it's too late, and ultimately, Kaylin doesn't make it. Meanwhile, back at Kevin's house, Kevin is like, oh shit, I think I shot someone, and he's gotta think fast. And so he decides to get rid of the evidence. First, he takes his pew-pew, and he wipes his fingerprints off. Yes, you heard that right, he wipes his own fingerprints off his own firearm. Okay. But then he goes and he finds the shotgun shells to the slugs he fired, and he hides them. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure what his full plan is here. Regardless, pretty quickly, police arrive, and they're knocking on his door. Boom, boom, boom. But Kevin, he ain't answering. So they beat on it again. Boom, boom. But he refuses to come out. Instead, he stays inside, and he calls 911 on the police. And he tells the operator, I wish they would leave, I want to go back to bed. And so Kevin and police, they end up in a standoff for apparently an hour. Like, Kevin refuses to come out and police refuse to leave until he comes out. But finally, after a long wait, he surrenders and he agrees to come out, and police question him and they ask him what happened.
What happened up here tonight? Nothing that I know of. No, I was sound asleep.
And yeah, police know that that's bullshit, and so bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot.
Police say a man shot and killed a 20-year-old woman who was in a car that accidentally pulled into his driveway.
And so Kevin definitely shot this woman. No question, no one's arguing that he didn't. But is he going to prison for this? Well, eventually, old Kevin goes to trial, and there he tells a very different version of what happened. Here's what he says really happened. One night, it's a normal night, and Kevin is asleep in his bed next to his wife, when suddenly, vroom, a loud noise wakes him up. What the hell was that? And so he grabs his pew-pew and he looks outside and he sees what he believes to be a motorcycle gang. They must be trying to break in. I mean, this must be a home invasion. And poor Kevin, he fears for his life. I mean, what's he gonna do? And so he yells to his wife, "Honey, go hide in the closet while I protect you." And then he goes outside, and to get these scary intruders to leave, blam, he fires a warning shot into the air. And the intruders turn around and they start to leave. But then the craziest thing happens. There just happens to be a nail sticking out of the floor of Kevin's porch. And suddenly, pow, Kevin trips over it and he falls to the ground. And blam, this causes his pew-pew to accidentally go off again. And that bullet flies through the back windshield of the SUV and it hits Kaylin right in the neck. And therefore, it was a total accident. And so yeah, this is actually the story that he tells the jury. Bro's entire defense is, "Oh no, I fell over." And so the judge hears all this, and by this point, he has had enough of Kevin's bullshit, and he just lays into him.
It's obvious to me that you feel justified. You don't take any responsibility for the outcome of your actions. You just don't get it. The first thing you do on the witness stand when you come up here and testify is you made a joke to the jury. You senselessly took the life of Kaylin Gillis, and you have the gall to sit here and talk about how you plan to finish up the work on your house and race motocross in the future. You don't deserve that. What would make you think that you deserve those things? Any remorse you have isn't for the harm you've caused. The only regret you have is that you're finally facing the consequences for your actions. You murdered Kaylin Gillis, you shot at a car full of people, and you didn't care what would happen, and you repeatedly lied about it. You deserve to spend the maximum time in prison allowable under our law. And I don't make this decision because it's easy. I make it because it's what's deserved. I make it because it's what's just.
Whew, those are some bars. But anyway, the jury finds him guilty as fuck, and the judge lays down his sentence.
So as to the conviction of murder in the second degree, I sentence you to a term of 25 years to life in prison.
And so Kevin is sentenced to 25 years to life. And as he's escorted out of the courtroom, this is the reaction from everyone sitting there watching.
Bye, Kevin.
Wow, that is wild.